Alexander A. Sedlmayr was an Austrian writer of whom I know next to nothing. I know he was born in Vienna in 1873, that he was an official of some sort at some time, that he wrote Alte Wiener Dosenstücke, which was adapted as a musical by Fritz Lange, and that he died in 1931. In 1920 he published The Poison of the Borgias, which is the only reason he is not remembered, but his existence is marginally noted. The story begins with the sudden death of Count Alexander Haichenbach the who had learned that the great electronics works that he had sunk most of his capital into was destroyed by flooding. His daughter Lucrezia finds his body and sends for medical counsel von Sporn, the Count's old friend, but he can only state the time of death, and then immediately offer the grieving Lucrezia marriage. Lucrezia discovers she has a way to charm men, and uses it to her advantage about twice. She is very determined to salvage the works and idea of engineer Mauritius to send electricity his ways through the air, but she is then confronted by Lohmann, a rich man who loves her but whom she loathes. He not only pressures her to marry him by threatening to send her into financial ruin after he bought up stakes in the company, but also wants to blackmail her beloved and fiancé, the Marchese Alfonso de Bisaglia, with a forged bill of exchange. So Lucrezia marries him without any love lost on the man. But at the same time her brother Cesare returns from the monastery, where he had run off to avoid committing a great crime, he says, and since his sister is Lucrezia and both have Borgia blood in their veins, the brother and sister proceed to do the deed, and the moment Cesare returns to the monastery, the brother from the neighbouring cell admits he loves him. Then Cesare speaks of the union of the Haichenbach to a branch of the Borgia family, and how his ancestors would cut pregnant women open, murder their spouses, and pour molten lead down the throats of their captives. Before dreaming of his sister in a delirium, he steps out of a window and forces his death. Lucrezia hears of her brother's death and is very loath to continue to be Lohmann's wife. She begs Alfonso to come free her no matter the cost. But before he goes, Alfonso reads an ancient family history of the time his ancestor tried to dissuade the King of Naples from marrying the young Prince Alfonso of Aragon to Lucrezia Borgia. He tells his king how Cesare Borgia already murdered one of Lucrezia's husbands, Giovanni Sforza, the Lord of Pesaro. But the King of Naples will not hear of this, and then Cesare suddenly wants Lucrezia to be married to Alfonso d'Este, Duke of Ferrara, and so the 19-year-old prince is no more. The present Alfonso is horrified by the coincidence, but he goes to Lucrezia anyway. Just at that time, Lohmann returns from America with a chemist named Niebuhr. He too falls for Lucrezia, of course, and by pure chance, right after she and Alfonso were talking about the mysterious lost poison of the Borgias, she finds out Niebuhr had discovered the very same in an old house. She charms the phial out of him, letting him kiss her wildly before spitting in his face and running off with the poison. In 7 days her husband dies of a mysterious illness, cursing her as his murderess before he does, but none of his doctors seem to notice. But having done so, both she and Alfonso are horrified, and Alfonso, who found an old love outside the casino of Monte Carlo right after losing all his money, does not love Lucrezia anymore. Betrayed, Lucrezia burns the forged documents her husband had. Then when she sees Alfonso think she tried to poison him, she drinks the poison herself, sends him away, and gives him a revolver with the cryptic warning that he shall use it yet. Then she goes home to die, fawned over even in death by the family physician, while Niebuhr goes insane, and Alfonso shoots himself in the head when he is found to be cheating at cards. A pretty morbid, well-written piece all around.